just in case.
Thank you for doing that, Professor.
You're welcome. Synthesis is about how all these elements that we talk about, acting, writing, camera work, photography, camera movement, and the editing and art design, and how they all come together to form a cohesive whole. You couldn't take Dunkirk and put it into a romantic comedy with the art direction from Mandalorian. You know, if you did something like that, you would just have something very confusing and schizophrenic, and it wouldn't work. But when you do everything with a certain goal in mind, and it all synthesizes perfectly together, you come up with something that's really wonderful, a cohesive work of art that's been made by many artists coming together with the same goal. And that's what we mean by synthesis. Does anybody have any questions on that? So, is it okay? Let me just look real fast at the study guide. Everybody found the study guide in module 15?
Yes.
Okay. There should not be anything on the final exam that's not in this study guide. Notice all I did was give you the terms. And what I will do is we'll talk about the final essay questions, and then we'll turn it over to you asking questions as opposed to me reteaching 15 weeks of school in one class, because that's not why we're here. So we just talked about synthesis. Go ahead and share my screen so you can see that. All right. So we just talked about synthesis. And you want to think about everything that goes into a movie, from the writing to the final edit and everything in between, how it all has to come together. And when you're making a movie, you shoot to the edit. I mean, you know how you want it to look in the end. The shots you shoot all should conform to that and make that a reality. If you don't shoot to the edit, you're either going to wind up with a big thing that doesn't make any sense, or you're going to wind up with, you know, spending 17 years in editing instead of just 17 weeks or something like that. What do I mean by technology-driven art form? Anyone want to field that?
Like it progresses as technology advances, like it changes over time.
Definitely, yes. Justine, something to add?
That's pretty good. What I was gonna say, there's a lot of progression through movies and film with technology, considering how we can share these stories.
Excellent. And also what I'm hoping that in your answers, you'll talk about certain innovations and how they shaped the film industry and filmmaking after that. We had sound, color, CGI, dollies, steady cams, drones, stop motion animation, low tech, and then of course computer animation and everything. Someone mentioned rotoscoping earlier and things like they did in The Matrix and have done in other movies, and how those shape the filmmaking and shape our storytelling. And all these innovations keep us moving forward, but they also change the stories we tell and how we're going to tell them.
So would this include like talking about how we went from the first kind of filmmaking? Would this be a good place to add some of that in? Is that kind of what you're looking at? Some of the first filmmaking technology?
Yeah, I mean, you could start there.
Certainly. If that's what you're interested in, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Basically, I want to show me how you understand when a new invention comes out, it changes not just how we tell stories, but sometimes it changes the stories that we're more likely to tell. You know, after Jurassic Park in the 90s, it was CGI. They kind of they really were like, okay, give me more scripts so we can use this new technology.
Like how sound affected things with like the Jazz Singer
Yeah,
coming out. They changed the.
just changed, it revolutionized. You know, we've had like 2 major motion pictures that were silent since then. You know, in honesty, at least we have Mel Brooks's silent movie, and then we have The Artist. And A Quiet Place isn't a silent movie as much as it just doesn't have people talking. It's just very dialogue free. So yeah, those types of things. Other comments or questions about that?
I'm sorry if I missed it, but are we doing an essay for each of these 3 topics?
Yeah, and there'll be a question on it. So it won't just be this, it'll be a question about this subject.
Okay.
And what we're doing, and it says this in the instructions at the beginning of the exam, which people may not read. You only need to answer 2 to get full credit. If you answer all 3, I'll take the lowest points, divide that by 2, and that'll be extra credit. So for example, you can get out of 100 points on the test, you can get 113 points because I think there's 3 extra multiple choice questions or bonus questions, and then there's 1 bonus essay. So if you were to get 10 points for all these essays, you get 25 out of 20. So it's definitely a good idea to answer all 3.
A word count on the essay?
No word count.
Okay.
Just try to be thorough. I don't expect you to list every innovation in cinematic history, but when you mention one, mention how it pushed the medium forward and what it might have done to influence the future movies that came out and use that same technology. Anything else on that? Okay, and then the last one, it basically just goes back to that lecture from 2 weeks ago. What are all the things that Hollywood does to try to ensure making money? You can list a bunch of things from advertising and promotions, and then talk about how they buzzes about movies. If you're talking about 3-act structure, then give a little explanation of how that's supposed to work with audiences. Remakes and sequels and adaptations and things like that. How do they function to grab audiences and entice people into spending their money to watch a movie? So generally, I'd say about 2 paragraphs. If you write a lot, then you don't know. Maybe 3/4 of a typewritten page would be what you come up with. For those who are more concise, probably 2 paragraphs, not even a half a page, would be a very, very thorough answer in my mind. But don't just BS, it's got to have actual content to it.
Right, so we just need to explore any of those strategies, right? The Hollywood strategies. We can pick one, right? Only
Yeah.
one? Okay.
List a few, list several, explore a few.
Okay.
Some things are obvious. Others need a little explanation. So once again, you only have to answer 2. I recommend answering all 3 just so you can get more points. So now I'm going to throw it out to everyone, just to ask. Hopefully you've gone over, everyone got the announcement today. Sorry if it was a little late. Did one person see an announcement?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
because I know one saw it, then everybody should have seen it. Okay. So what questions do you have? And then I'll let you guys answer it for them, and I'll just sit here and act like I'm smart.
Did you already, I missed the first part. I'm sorry. How many, is there a multiple choice question, like quiz part for the different sections?
There are, I have 43 multiple choice questions,
Okay.
which could be on any of those terms on the study guide. It will look very similar to your quizzes. Actually, I think there are 44 multiple choice questions. I think the total point is 113 out of 100. So when they say you can't give 110%, you tell them you can. All right. Questions on any of the
118%.
Hmm?
118%.
That's what it says, because I put down the essay's worth 10, but your third essay is only gonna be worth 5 if you get perfect score.
No, I was just saying you can give your 118%
Oh,
instead of 110%.
oh,
Will we have seen the multiple choice questions before on some of the other quizzes, or are they going to be unique ones?
they're pretty similar. Some are the same. I wrote them so perfectly the first time.
The only ones I'm not as sure about is the French New Wave and Italian Neorealism. Because I missed that class.
Have you watched the videos in the module?
I did, and I'm really clear with the German Expressionism, but I'm less certain with them. I feel like I got it, but I just feel a little more shaky on those two.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna try to trick you. I'm not gonna say, you know, which film movement did 400 blows come from, although that's right there in the notes. So I would just, you know, be familiar with them. Look at the, basically look at that first page before the videos, and you know, those attributes are really all I expect you to understand. And it's mostly just so you guys can go, oh, that looks cool. I might want to go check out the 400 blows or Home Open City and experience movies that you may not have experienced without having this class. And like the one video says, there's just 80 million film movements.
So that the one with the 80 million film
We
movements,
could-
that's French New Wave.
No, I was just saying that the French, they did say that the French had a film movement about everything. They like
Yeah,
to categorize things in
right.
film journals.
But they did do a lot of like jumping around and like a lot of what did it say, like long shots and stuff.
Yeah.
And,
Long
rapid,
shots.
like the rapid
all
scene
location,
chains.
Jump,
Okay.
rapid jump cuts, things
Okay.
like that. Yeah, it even said that sometimes they broke the fourth wall, talked directly to the camera, and things like that.
Cool.
Just any basic understanding, I think, would be fine.
Okay.
Have you taken the last quiz yet?
Yeah. All right. As long as it's not going to be harder than that.
That'll-
Or not too much.
Not too much. All right. Other questions? If you're
Is
looking,
the due date for the exam, is it the 11th?
yes, but don't wait that long.
And can we do it today if we wanted to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually never even hit it. It's been available, I think, all semester, but I added that last essay question today. Which,
I have a question, Professor.
yeah,
Is the final all going to be in order for like each chapter,
um,
or are you going to make it more hard for us and put it out of order?
I think it's pretty much in order, but can't promise you that aren't some questions are like, wait a minute, that should have been in the first 10 questions. But I think it does flow in order. I haven't looked at it in a while. That shouldn't confuse you anyway. You should know all this, right? It should flow pretty chronological. Unless I chose scramble, which I don't think I did. Any other terms you're confused about? Any names you've forgotten what they've done? Any concepts that seem confusing? Okay.
Actually, will any questions be based on a movie we watched in class?
That's a really good question. Let's see. I don't think so. I used to do that, but then I started changing things. And since I didn't write them on here, let me go look. Mhm. No, I don't believe I asked any questions about the movies we watched. So pretty much on that study guide. And it's mostly going in order of the modules. Yeah, it pretty much goes in order of the chapters or modules. And I don't see any questions about all those great movies. 44 multiple choice questions, 3 essays. Okay. Yeah, so if I list, like I've listed George Méliès, Trip to the Moon, which we did watch, That's about the only one, that and the Edvard Muybridge movies. That's about it. I did talk about Charlie Chaplin. That's more of a generic question about Chaplin, if it's in there, as opposed to a specific movie about a specific question about a movie of his. Although if you haven't watched The Great Dictator, probably should watch it, or at least just his last final speech. If you haven't seen that, has everyone seen the speech from The Great Dictator? Okay. Let's see a few thumbs up and a few nodding heads. If you haven't, please watch that.
Is it the King's Speech or is it the King's Speech?
Yeah, that's where he's the supreme ruler. The emperor's speech. And then Darth Vader passed away, so rest in peace. Why am I spacing on his name? The guy who was in the costume. So, not James Earl Jones. So Kelsey, is that the Chaplin speech?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any other questions? Everything makes sense. Is this class too easy? Just right?
No, no way.
No way?
Just fun enough that we paid attention.
Just fun enough to pay attention. That's all I'm asked for. Well, hopefully, the way I like to have my classes is you think it's easy and you have fun, and then you actually retain a whole bunch of knowledge that you didn't realize it was going to stick. So hopefully it sticks.
You were successful.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
I definitely notice a lot more now when I watch movies. I actually try to notice a lot more now, actually. And it actually annoys my wife when I start pointing stuff out.
Excellent.
I second that.
That's the
I do the same thing.
annoy your
I
spouse.
heard that. Over the weekend, during Thanksgiving, my family is annoyed because I was doing the structure. So it's like
That's the best one to really ruin movies.
Yeah, I keep trying to like guess what's gonna happen in movies, and I'm like, this is what I think is gonna happen.
yeah, I can't stop
As soon as it
decoding
starts.
now.
I meet like 3 characters, and I'm already like guessing what's about to happen.
Exactly.
Like, oh, the big action scene's about to come. We're hitting that point. Here it comes.
Yep, 25 minutes. We're about ready to go into the next thing.
Well, excellent. That's what I want to hear. And I always say, if you notice mistakes in movies, or if you notice the acts changing and it's the first time you watch it, then the movie's not as engrossing as it needs to be. Now, if it's something you've watched a couple of times, and you have a little more chance to let your mind wander. There's a lot of great movies out there with flaws, and if you go online and look at them, you'll say, "Oh my God, look at all these flaws!" And you didn't notice it because you were too engrossed in the movie.
Is that why you told us to pick movies that we've seen a few times?
Yeah, especially for the writing discussion board. Something so you're not just sitting there going, "Oh, I didn't even know it. I forgot to look at my watch when that happened." So hopefully, like I said, I think the first time you watch a great movie, you probably will get all the way through it and not even have that thought, and then you will go and think about it and go, "Wait a minute, when did we change from Act 1 to Act 2? And what was the character's arc, and how does that work with the message?" So But that's always what I want. I want my students to enjoy movies and think more about them and understand more about how they're made and how genius they are, or terrible, or both. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, if you know every term on that sheet, then you are good to go. Um, and as always, I don't know if I'm going to. I like to get a survey out to you, but I don't know that I'm gonna have time to make it. So if you have any suggestions or comments, please feel free to send them my way. And what you liked about the class and what you think could be better. I'm always into hearing that, especially with the completely online, well, not completely online, but the non-face-to-face virtually online, which we're going to be this way next semester. And hopefully that'll be the end of not being going on campus. And next fall, we'll return to some semblance of normalcy.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Well, there's
Okay.
a lot of hope with the vaccines. We'll see. Hopefully
Well,
they work
thank you.
and we can get the distribution out there.
I wanted to thank you. I really enjoyed the class and I appreciated everybody's, participation and got some great TV show suggestions and movie suggestions. So thank you all for that.
Thank you for saying so, Erica. Appreciate it.
I agree with that.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Welcome. Yeah, and I've learned so much. I had a lot of shows to try and squeeze in. A lot of movies to see. It's I think about going back and boning up on the historical films like from those film movements, and I'm like, I got to catch up with what's going on Netflix, and I can't go back in time. Watch Nosferatu. I mean, come on now. But maybe I will. I don't know. Someday.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this class, and it's bittersweet for me because it's my last semester, and I've recently moved to Arizona, so everybody's like an hour behind, and I'm like an hour forward. But yeah, I didn't, it's bittersweet because I was expecting my last, semester to be in school and
Yeah.
with everyone and in a normal class setting. But yeah, thanks everyone for making this so much fun.
Thank you.
Why is it your last semester?
I transfer out, so
Oh, at Grossmont. Okay.
yeah, from Grossmont, yeah, I transfer out.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
A lot of changes for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is most, unless for whatever reason I need to take more classes, which I currently don't. This is also my last semester, but I'm not even feeling like it's a last anything. I just feel like this is kind of a weird daydream. I'm waiting to like wake up from it and find myself in a classroom hugging people goodbye or something. Like I don't feel like this is very difficult for me, being online and studying through a screen and not being able to ask questions as often as I like to, because that's how I retain information, by asking a lot of questions. And it's really hard to interrupt class and do that when you're like behind a screen.
Yeah.
But I loved, the connections we made, especially around like you guys were my comfort class during the debates and elections and all of that. So that really meant so much to me. Like I would look forward to this class for that, Zen feeling, or or the movies that I would have never heard of and never seen on my own. So it has been really comforting, like amidst everything that is going on. Even though it is behind a screen, it's still
Yeah.
was nice to have that routine on Tuesday nights. And it's now, if you guys want to like write down a bunch of movies that I can watch on my own on Tuesday nights, because I probably forgot what they were, then I'll just write them down really quick, and I'll do that until next semester.
Yeah. And go ahead and punch some stuff into the chat for us.
All of the movies. I don't like crazy fast.
The other thing, and I don't go back through the discussion board.
Action, that's the word.
Yeah, you can go through the discussion boards maybe. There's a lot of great suggestions in there. And I didn't really see much people saying they saw talking about anything they didn't really like. Maybe I should add a new discussion board. Tell me about a movie you hated, but
That matters a lot. That's a really good question.
I actually think that you should do that.
Yeah, absolutely. 'Cause I walked into a friend's house about 2 weeks ago, and they were, I think, watching the newest Fast and Furious movie, something like that. And I thought it was horrendous that they were even like playing it in the background while I stood there for 10 minutes. Like it was just not good. In my very humble opinion, it was an awful movie.
You guys didn't like The Rock diverting a missile with his bare hands? I mean, what's not to like about that? I mean,
You don't think that The Rock can do that? Because I do. I
If
personally.
anybody could.
sounds amazing.
You know, the trick will be people telling why they don't like the movie in like a legitimate way.
Right.
That would actually make it really difficult,
I don't like this movie because it sucks.
Yeah.
right?
I'm sure I'll get at least one of those.
It's easy when you're talking from a storytelling perspective. When you're focused on storytelling and there's no story to tell, like you're just like, it's just like, it feels like when you have extra funds and you don't know what to do, and so you create a movie. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Or when you have a really good movie, like I haven't seen Sin City 2, but I loved the first movie. That's one of my favorite movies. The way the storytelling was, the characters, all of it. A lot of times when they make a sequel, it's just like, ugh. Even if it's an animation, even the animation just becomes not as good in sequels.
Yeah, well, I think you should check out Sin City 2.
With low expectation.
Yeah. Go into everything with low
It's like, okay.
That's like the new motto for
Try.
life.
at the
Just
very
lower
least,
expectations, and then
Just
it'll be
always.
better.
Aim high, shoot low.
at the very least, there's Eva Green, who's amazing always. So you'll have her.
There you go.
Yeah.
Aim low, shoot high.
There you go.
Like for my stuff, I deliberately tried to like focus on movies that I liked, because I was like, this is a class, we're discussing film. We should be like kind of looking at like even like something that maybe someone else wouldn't like, and you focusing on what was positive and good about it. But for the 90-second review, I was really like my mind first went to Jurassic World, which was a movie I liked when I first watched it, and then I watched it again and I hated it. But I was like, I can't do this in 90 seconds though. Like this is going to be like a dissertation on my issues with Jurassic World. So that's why I'm like, oh, I'll go to a movie I like.
So you didn't do Jurassic World?
No, I don't remember what movie I did, but it was something that I was like, okay, this is a movie I enjoy. I think it might have been like That Darn Cat or something, like an older movie. Jurassic World, there's just so many like little things that disappointed me about it. Or it was like it was kind of like because I first liked it and then I started noticing all of these things that were problems with it, that it just like really ticks me off.
Yeah. How'd you guys like the writing 90-second critique?
It was
That
a
was
great
fun,
excuse
yeah.
to watch a movie. I loved it.
No,
I watched a full movie from beginning to end. That was nice.
excellent.
My achievement.
Well, I only read one, and that was from Palomar Student, and it was really well written. And I read it out loud in 30 seconds. So
Oh no.
I was like, okay. And that's one of the things that I do this for is to showcase what is 90 seconds of spoken time in TV or in radio. You can say a lot in 90 seconds. If you think about all the commercials you see on TV and how much they put in, that's 30 seconds, generally speaking. So sometimes it takes a lot more than you'd expect to fill a minute and a half.
You obviously weren't giving the review the gravitas that the student meant for it to have. You didn't
Right.
leave in the pauses, the dramatic effects that they wanted.
I totally read it wrong.
I
That's
was
right.
reading mine with an auctioneer's voice.
You were reading it like the end of a commercial.
Exactly.
I wasn't quite reading it like the Federal Express guy from the 80s or, the disclaimers for that heart medication, but I wasn't reading it like this either. I wasn't even doing a Ken Burns documentary type of read.
That
But
might be a fun like activity to do. Like have people write their things up and like do their thing, and then have like the next week have them actually like record like what it would be in 90 seconds, and then being like, okay, read exactly what you said, but I need you to make it fit 90 seconds, and see what they have to do to like work around like, oh, I typed way too much. I'm gonna have to like speed through this, or I didn't type enough. I'm gonna have to be really like, we're gonna contemplate what I just said for the next 30 seconds.
well, I got to look at it because is it easy for students to just hit the record button and submit an audio recording? Because we're getting to that level. We might be there. I haven't asked
My
students.
English class, we did one of our essays, I guess. We did instead of doing the essay, we did a podcast. So we had to do like first we did like a 90-second podcast, and then we did do a 5-minute podcast.
Mhm.
And it's actually not that hard to work out, but it's amazing how much work it goes actually into getting it just right.
Yeah.
And you're right, like it's not the amount of words you think it's going to be.
Maybe make it extra credit for like, anyone that for some reason doesn't have the access to technology. But I think that would be fun to be like 90 seconds. What does that mean in words?
Yeah. It's interesting. I know I did a lot of work, and I had a boss who was from radio, and I had him do a VO. And I said, can you shave a second off of a 30-second voiceover track? And he shaved a second off, and you couldn't tell the difference. And that's the difference between a professional voiceover radio person and the rest of us. It was very impressive because I was literally came in at 31 seconds. I'm like, just shave it down a second. And it sounded the same, but he shaved a second off of it. A lot of experience in that man's ability.
Time is abstract anyway.
There is no such thing as time. There's only the present, which is why I have to talk to Einstein about his theory of relativity, because I don't get it. All right. Anything else? I'm going to stop recording.